was bad timing. He'd just come home from a devastating mission that had left him sick of his own hopeful new career and aching all over for Amelia. Her grief had led to an unforgettable night in bed, one that led to tragedy. Guilt had ridden him hard afterward. At her grandfather's funeral, he'd taken Edie with him, just so he wouldn't have to face Amelia alone. He knew it had hurt and confused her, but then he was confused too. He'd thought mercenary work was right up his alley, with his background in police work. Well, it wasn't. He'd seen things, done things, that haunted him still. He'd stayed away from Amelia for weeks while he got counseling, put his life back together, changed jobs, and became settled. He'd finally come to terms with his feelings for her. He even had a set of rings in his pocket. He'd been looking forward to starting a new life. Then, Amelia's great aunt, in a fit of rage, had called him to say that Amelia had solved their little problem, and now there were no complications, so he was free to seduce another innocent woman, wasn't he? He took another swallow of the drink. That news had started him on the downward spiral that led him right into marriage with his worst nightmare. So long ago. So much pain. He'd given Amelia hell, not allowing her to even get a word in edgewise, not giving her a chance to defend herself, explain herself. And to complicate matters, a few days later, at the end of a drinking binge that had almost landed him in jail, he'd married Edie. Biggest mistake of his life. It was a shame that he'd sobered up soon afterward, because Edie had faults that he hadn't known about when he'd put that ring on her finger. He hadn't known that she was a blatant alcoholic, that she used drugs, that she was a habitual liar. He'd found all those things out, one by one. She'd said they could have children, but that was before he found out that she'd had a hysterectomy some years before, and that she'd never wanted children. They were a nuisance, she told him, and she wasn't risking her figure to add another squalling brat to the world. It had only taken him a few days to realize that what he really felt for her, when he wasn't drunk, was contempt. He'd married her out of spite, to rub it in that Amelia meant nothing to him, that he'd never cared for her. It had been a lie. His life had been hell for 3 long years, before Edie finally drank too much one night and, after adding narcotics to the mix, had put herself in the morgue. Cal, who'd given up mercenary work to hire on with the San Antonio Police Department, had climbed from patrolman to sergeant, then to lieutenant. He was now captain of the detective squad, a testament to his ability to manage cases and get along with politicians and protesters alike. Promotions that usually took years had taken him far less time, through a series of lucky breaks and ability. But his job, although satisfying, was just a job. He went home to an empty house on his Jacobsville ranch, where he lived alone. He'd given Edie's house to a distant cousin of hers, who promptly sold it. Cal hadn't wanted it. The place held too many memories of his drunken wife, making his life hell. He moved into an apartment, and then, not long afterward, bought a small ranch in Jacobsville, where he and Amelia had first met. People in his department noticed that he never dated. They assumed it was because he was still mourning his late wife. Nothing was further from the truth. He'd hated Edie with a passion. When he was finally cold sober, he slowly came to realize that he might not have had the whole story about what had happened in the past. But after he married Edie, he hadn't done any checking. He didn't want to know. Amelia was out of his life, and he could never trust her again, even if they met again someday. He didn't